sound, we have
subscribe. I'm literally middle of the night doing this video. I can't sleep. Blah blah blah. So let's get right into the video. Sponsor. These are $1 stores. You can tap it on. Where's if you want to make anime videos. So let's hop right into the video and.
The Fairly Odd Parents. This show has been a fairly big success with 10 seasons, and it's the show that I would watch every day after school. But I never regarded it as being dark. That was until I really took time to analyze it. So let's start off with the theme song. Timmy is an average kid that no one understands. Mom and Dad and Vicky always giving him commands. Dad, twerk. Right there, that suggests that Timmy is constantly being bossed around by his parents. And in the show, he's constantly abused by his sadistic babysitter, Vicky. She often degrades him and calls him names. Then it continues with doom and gloom up in his room. So Timmy's room isn't even a safe place for him to escape to. Now, Timmy then gets fairies, which makes his life relatively better. The Fairy Council claims that they grant fairies to the most miserable children on Earth, meaning that there are a bunch of depressed and abused children out there that feel ignored and mistreated by their parents. Moving on to number 9, we have SpongeBob. So I know I already talked about everyone's favorite little yellow sponge before, but I want to go into more detail this time. This show isn't just about a silly little sponge and his daily adventures. It shows characters dealing with depression, anxiety, and mania, and even addresses issues like greed, suicide, and vengeance. Let's take a look at one of the episodes titled One Course Meal. In this episode, Mr. Krabs discovers that Plankton is terrified of whales, and then he uses this to his advantage to torture him. It is revealed that Plankton's ancestors were killed by whales. Now, Mr. Krabs tortures Plankton so much that he actually tries to commit suicide. We see him lay down in the middle of the road waiting for a bus to run him over. Or how about the episode where SpongeBob believes he killed the health inspector and then him and Mr. Krabs struggle to try and hide his body from the cops? Definitely darker than a bunch of us realized. In our 8th spot, we have Phineas and Ferb, a goofy little show about 2 inventor brothers and their super agent pet, Platypus Perry. So in the show, Candace is always trying to get her brothers in trouble by trying to get her parents to witness their inventions, but she never succeeds. Well, it makes her seem like she's a pathological liar. Then in season 1, episode 45, she finally succeeds and her parents catch Phineas and Ferb in the act. As a result, they get sent to reformatory school. Now, this is when the show takes a very dark turn. At this school, the brothers get their imaginations forcibly removed from them. They go through this very disturbing brainwashing process where you see this machine strapped to their head, basically sucking...
Slay. If you heard that in the video, type that.
The life out.
That's how I know you made it.
As far. They're strapped down with their eyes forced open as they watch the show about how imagination is morally wrong. The worst part, this whole episode was a dark metaphor for growing up. Coming in our 7th spot, we have the Rugrats. This show revolves around 4 babies, Tommy, Chucky, and the twins Phil and Lil. And of course, Angelica, their older cousin that often likes to terrorize them. In fact, she is famous for screaming, "You stupid babies." Meanwhile, the adults are completely clueless. Well, that's great. The babies have a verbally abusive cousin, but I'm not going to focus on that. There was one episode that made the show take a very sad and dark turn. This episode was titled Mother's Day and reveals what happened to Chucky's mom. In the episode, everyone has a mom for Mother's Day.
Trying to do that gangsta look, but I can't.
Revealed that his mom died from an unexpected
I don't want to do a
illness
normal smile
after his birth.
I can't.
It's an extremely heartbreaking episode. And then also in the episode, Chucky's father reads a poem that Chucky's mom wrote for him while in the hospital. Like, just ripped my heart out there.
I'm from Mexican.
In our 6th spot, we have Care Bears. Yes, I know this one is going to be hard to believe. How are friendly and cute looking rainbow bears scary? Well, I'll tell you how. So the show has something called a caring meter. Basically, this meter tells when kids are unhappy or misbehaving, meaning that they are constantly monitoring everything that every single kid does. Creepy. Then what's worse is that they appear to the child and force them to change their attitude. And then they also give them a nice big, long hug to ensure that they act in accordance to their preconceived notion. Basically, these bears are dictating the kids on how they need to act and feel, stripping away their own personality and forcing a new one on them. Like, they're doing more harm than good by trying to protect these kids from ever feeling sadness. Then people also drew a connection between the Care Bears and the cult recruitment technique called love bombing. Basically, this involves showering recruits with attention and affection to entice them into the cult. Oh, doesn't that sound an awful lot like the Care Bears hug and tactics? We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with Ed, and Eddie. This show follows the lives of 3 boys, all with basically the same name, but with completely different personalities. It's sad, but if you rewatch the show, it's clear to see that each Ed suffers from a different kind of abuse. Let's start off with Ed with Grundy. Ed lives in an abusive house. He lives in the dark basement in a really messy room. But his sister's room is clean and filled with nicer items, showing parental favoritism. Ed also has bad personal hygiene. It's as if his parents don't care for his own health or hygiene. Then in one episode, you can hear someone screaming in the background. Ed then says, "Dad's home." Okay, that literally makes it seem like his dad abuses others and he's just used to hearing them scream and cry in pain. Then lastly, in one episode, Eddie tries to break Ed out of his house when they realize that the stairs are gone, meaning his parents physically removed the stairs so that he had no way to get out of the basement. That's dark. Now, let's move on to Double D Ed. His abuse is more in the form of neglect. His parents are hardly ever home, so they communicate to him through sticky notes. But the notes are often outrageous, like, "Please wash the phone." Not a typical chore, at least not in my household. It makes it seem like his mom may be struggling with personal issues. Then it also seems like Ed is given a bunch of chores to do as if he's a servant and not their son. And lastly, we have Eddie. In the series finale, we saw Eddie being physically and verbally abused by his older brother. So the characters do suffer from a much darker life than we thought. In our 4th spot, we have Braceface. Does anyone else remember the show? If not, Braceface is a Canadian cartoon that surrounds the 14-year-old girl Sharon Spitz and her struggles of growing up. Sharon was actually voiced by Alicia Silverstone for the first 2 seasons. Now, Braceface has dealt with much more serious issues on the show, such as peer pressure, body image issues, and even underage drinking. So let's take a look at that last one. In season 1, episode 13, Sharon and her friend Maria go to Miami to visit Sharon's dad. During this trip, Sharon and Maria are invited to go to a party by a friend of her dad's band. At the party, this guy offers both the minors a rum and coke. That's right, they mention that in a kids show. After insisting that they drink, Sharon gives into the pressure and has some. Then you see Sharon continue drinking and has 5 more. With the alcohol in her system, she starts to dance and actually shakes her tushy for all the guys to see. Then she ends up back at the hotel where she vomits. And her dad gives her this big long lecture about underage drinking. I mean, I personally haven't seen a kid or tween show tackle dark issues like that. Going on to number 3,
Bro, that's a little awkward, bro. If that ever happens to me, bro, I would not hesitate to ground that person. I would have to teach her to do the right things. Not gonna teach her how to be an asshole like me, because nobody should not be like me, but damn.
Have Sesame Street. Yes, I know I've done videos on Sesame Street before, but those are all just made-up theories. Now it's time to look at actual facts from episodes. So Sesame Street over the years has tackled serious issues like death, disease, divorce, and gender inequality. Recently, they have introduced a new character named Carly, whose mother is a drug addict. As a result, she lives in foster care. Carly is supposed to highlight the serious impact that a drug addiction can have on a family and a young child. Sesame Street also claims that it's a way to help break the stigma and to help show kids that they're not alone. Then we also have the character named Alex, whose father is in jail. And we have Lily, a 7-year-old Muppet whose family suffers from food insecurity and homelessness. Sesame Street is just filled with hard-hitting issues. In our second spot, we have The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. A classic show that is very well written and actually hilarious, and I still enjoy watching it to this day. So there are two main episodes that I want to discuss. The first one being the episode titled Health and Fitness, which was season 2, episode 34. In this episode, London and Maddie go to extreme measures to make sure their bodies look perfect for a fashion show. London is shown trying to lose an extreme amount of weight, whereas Maddie thinks that she needs to gain weight. This episode tackles the eating disorders, anorexia, and bulimia. But as a kid, it went right over our heads. London ends up starving herself to the point where she's super dizzy,
music
and
behind
Maddie
the
has
scene of
digestive
that
issues
voice.
after binge eating all day. Now, the next episode I want to talk about is titled Poor Little Rich Girl, and it's from season 1, episode 13. In this episode, we find the very upsetting truth about London's childhood. So, basically, in this episode, London's father goes broke, and as a result, London loses her place and has to live with Maddie. That's only temporary, though. He's still rich, don't worry. While at Maddie's, she says she didn't realize...
Well, after this part, I'm gonna end the video. Come on pause. That's why I had this, and I'm just... It's not working either, dude. What the fuck? Dude.
that families actually sat down and ate meals together. She said that her parents would often go out to restaurants and would leave her home
I hate
with
this
a nanny.
app.
But the nannies never spoke English, so she
I
was
would've had
often
to
alone
restart
with no one to
everything,
talk
bro.
to.
I
Also,
almost
the
had
nanny
to.
was never the same, so it's not like she could have formed a bond with them. It's almost like having a new stranger in your house every day. Then in the episode, London failed at her attempt to try and cook. Well, it's because no one taught her how to cook. Then she also says that every weekend she was stuck flying back and forth between her mom and dad. So she didn't really have a good childhood. Side note, the episode about the ghost in Suite 613 would always scare me as a kid. Do any of you guys know what I'm talking about? Let me know in the comments below. And in our #1 spot, we have...
Alright guys, I'm gonna end the video now. Peace.